So I often talk about the fact that I used to fly about 16 years ago. I did my flight training and I ended up quitting. So let's talk about why that happened. Hello my friends, welcome back to Late Departure. I'm Adam, and as you know, this is my continuing journey to becoming a commercial airline pilot. And today I wanted to tell you a little bit about why my flight training 16 years ago didn't go very well. And I think this is a great way to expand on my original origin story. So the last time that we talked, I fell in love with a girl, went to Japan to find her, never found her. I'd already wanted to be a pilot and it was one of my big dreams, but after meeting her and watching the drama Good Luck and just really being passionate about becoming a pilot, I finally took the leap. And so when I came back from Japan, brokenhearted, unfortunately, after never finding Yukiko, I decided I'm going to get into flight training. So I went around and I did some research. Unfortunately, I didn't do quite as much research as I did this time around, but I went over to Boundary Bay because at the time I was living nearby in a small town called Tawasin. Of course, at that time, the airport was very different. It was a lot smaller, and there were only about 3 or 4 flight schools at the airport. I think now there are probably closer to 6 or 7 there. There are quite a few more. But so there were the 3 big flight schools at Boundary Bay. There was Pacific Flying Club, there was ProIFR, and there was Montair. And when I went around to the different places, Pacific Flying Club, I kind of got scared because I walked in and I was like a fish dropped into a pond full of sharks. Like, I walked in and I was swarmed by young instructors desperately trying to get students. And I don't know, it was just kind of a weird experience. I had all these instructors, hey, you want to learn how to fly? You want to learn how to fly? Come on, I'll teach you. And it was really crazy. And it definitely was something that I didn't really experience this time around because, of course, now we have a lot more students and a lot fewer instructors. But in any case, then I went over to ProIFR and I don't know, it just seemed sort of, it was okay. It seemed like a pretty good flying school. But then I went over to Montair, and at that time, and of course Montair then and now are different, they have different owners, but at that time it was a family-run business, and the guy who owned it and some people there, I actually was referred to them by one of my fellow air cadets who did his training there. And so that was the reason why I went there. And when I went in, they're really friendly, they treated me like family, and I told them, you know, like, I just graduated high school, I want to be a pilot, what can I do? What's the best way for me to do this? And they said, you should come in, work on the ramp, and basically what that means is I'd be out washing airplanes, like scrubbing the grease off the bottom of the airplanes, scrubbing the bugs off of the wings, cleaning windshields, cleaning the apron, washing the building, mowing the grass, sweeping up everywhere, cleaning the toilets, all those kinds of things. Really, ramp workers, they do a lot of stuff, and I have the utmost respect for ramp workers. I did it for 3 years. Again, just doing all of this busy work, basically, around the flight school, just making sure everything is clean and everything looks good. And unfortunately, I was getting paid bare minimum wage to do that, and I worked full-time there. And so the deal was, I would go there, and I would work full-time, I would make my full-time minimum wage salary, and they would give me free headset rentals. That was the benefit there. Oh, mandatory plane break. So young 18-year-old Adam heard this and he's like, oh, that sounds like a sweet deal. Great. So I started working there and it was really tough. I was working full time and with minimum wage salary. Even back then, it was cheaper to do flight training. It only cost about $160 dual time. But for me, at I think it was $5 an hour or something that I was making, I could pretty much only afford to fly once every couple weeks. And that was really, really, really tough. So that's what I ended up doing. I flew once every couple of weeks, and I did that for about 3 years. Over 3 years, I only made about 40 hours of training there, which fortunately now are added to my current training, which is kind of putting me a little bit ahead. But at the same time, it was brutal. And so basically what this meant was that I was going in every single time not really remembering what I did the time before. And so, normally if you're flying every day, you go exercise 1, review exercise 1, exercise 2, exercise 3, whatever it is. But I would be doing like exercise 1 review, exercise 1 review again kind of thing. Maybe not exercise 1, because I think exercise 1 is straight and level, but just reviewing some of the more basic exercises and the techniques, just because I wasn't building the muscle memory to actually remember them. And it was really, really tough. And for me personally, I tried my best. I worked hard, I studied hard, I did what I could, but working full time at a job like that, where you're out in the hot sun all day, just scrubbing airplanes and just cleaning up after people and doing that kind of stuff, and then flying and then trying to study, and just the balance, the workload, and the fact that I could only fly once every 2 weeks was ultimately just the demise of my flight training. And I got really frustrated. I realized that I just could not do this. It would not work. And this is hopefully a lesson for the rest of you. I know there are some places out there, even some flight schools, who offer this kind of opportunity. They say, come work on the ramp for us, and then you can make money and you can fly, and maybe we'll give you a slight discount. Although I've heard that a lot of schools, they do not give any kind of discount. I never got a discount. I've never heard of anyone getting a discount, but hey, free headset rentals, right? So in all seriousness, I hope this is a really good kind of lesson for other people who, maybe especially young people, because I've had a lot of young people in our Discord channel saying, hey, I want to jump right into flying. I don't really have any money saved. Maybe I can get into a flight school and work part-time 20 hours a week or something. That's not going to work very well. I can tell you right now, it's really tough. It's really hard to balance flight training and work like that. And especially when you're in a job where you're making minimum wage or next to minimum wage, which you probably will be if you come out here without any education or training, it's going to be very, very tough. So honestly, at that point, I got really disheartened by the situation. My dream of flying kind of just went through the floor. And no matter how much I loved it, I realized I just wasn't getting anywhere. I was beating my head against a wall. And at the same time, I had colleagues around the same age who, at that time, they had taken out loans for paying for their flight training, and they couldn't pay them back. They couldn't get flight instructor jobs because at the time we had too many flight instructors, not enough students. So a whole bunch of them were getting jobs at McDonald's and fast food places. Really, again, minimum wage jobs to pay off $100,000 student debt, which was really tough. And I just thought, you know what, that's tough. I don't want that. I don't want to be stuck with debt that I'm going to be carrying until I'm in my 40s or 50s or something like that for a career that, as much as I want, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get this in the future. Like, the aviation industry wasn't looking that good back then. And again, this is over 16, 17, 18 years ago. This is a long time ago now. So what did I do? Well, I decided, I got to make some money. I got to do something to make a career. And of course, with Yukiko still on my mind, I ended up going and applying to university and started studying Asian studies and languages and linguistics and sociolinguistics and things like that. And I started a whole new chapter of my life, and I will talk about that in the next Origin Stories video, because it's one heck of a crazy story that had me hopping all over the world, meeting people like the Emperor of Japan and some of the best and closest friends that I've ever met in my entire life. So this is definitely going to be an interesting journey full of a lot of twists and turns and crazy stuff, and I'll get into that next time. But in any case, I hope this was a good story and a good lesson, again, to especially a lot of the younger people who are looking into getting into a career in aviation. Speaking of which, mandatory plane break. And I sincerely hope that this can stop people from making the same mistake that I did and hopefully get prepared. Like I said many times, going back, if I could do it again, I would go back get a degree in computer programming, make a bunch of money, finish my flight training like that. It would have been that easy, but you know, I was young, I didn't know better, didn't have anyone to mentor me, or didn't have a YouTube channel like Late Departure where you know, someone was telling me about their experience and telling me a different way that I could have taken. So thank you all again for joining me on my late departure here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope that you're staying healthy and happy. If you're out flying, have fun. Really enjoy your flying out there. If you're getting close to starting your flying, I hope you're excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. And remember, it's never too late. See you next time.